one of the biggest reasons why you're failing to fundraise and not being successful is because you don't understand what investors are looking for at each stage and what validation they're looking for in your business and what you've done. When it comes to fundraising, especially on the narrative side, the key to success isn't just about how much you're raising, right, or when you're running out of money. It's about aligning your round with the inflection points that makes an investor feel like you're going to be successful, right? These are moments or proven aspects around your startup, and they're signals to investors that you're ready to take the next leap, right? And that you're going to be successful and you're going to raise that next round, right? Each type of validation or inflection point that you need to be showing to investors marks a different stage of your fundraising journey, right? So they're not all the same. They're different compared to where you're going to be. And we'll go through those in a second. But timing your fundraise around these milestones and having these as discussion points not only shows that your company's great, which is very important, but it also shows that you're a great founder. And that second one is so important because that's really what investors are investing into, is showing that you're an amazing founder, and you having these conversations, you knowing these inflection points and showing that you have them is one of the most important aspects of where an investor feels you're amazing, right? And that helps you maximize that interest from investors, and you can raise on stronger terms, you can have a much better narrative, you can build FOMO momentum. So it's very, very important that you understand these inflection points, you understand each stage, and then raise on those things once you've done certain things in your business, right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to break down those, what I think of the 3 types of validation depending on stage, and how you set up your fundraising journey, whether you're in pre-seed, seed, or Series A, okay? So let me just quickly go to there. There we go. So we're going to we're just going to go through it, right? So we're going to go from pre-seed to Series A. So look, pre-seed, right? So where I see a lot of founders go wrong with pre-seed is you're trying to raise on just an idea. Now look, it's not 2021 anymore. Even then it was pretty rare anyway. Most founders can't just raise on an idea unless you're a previously exited founder like Elon Musk or something, right? Or you have an amazing network around you of people willing to invest into you. To be frank to you, it's just not going to happen. And if you think that someone's going to invest into you to spend money on your idea without you having done anything, you're just not going to be successful. So what are the validation metrics on a pre-seed? Like what does that look like, right? And at the pre-seed stage, really, the goal is to really validate the idea, right, itself. So for this, right, this is an idea validation. Give me 1 second, sorry. So for this one, it's an idea validation, right? And this can be a lot of different things, right? There's no one key thing that it has to be, but what you need to show is that you've actually validated that the idea works. And there's a couple things on that you can do for this, right? So the first one is, so customers love it. Customers love it. The second one is you can make money from this. You can make money. Again, you don't have to have this like you don't have to be making money necessarily. I'm not saying you need revenue, but that you can see, okay, look, customers are actually loving what I'm doing, or there is a big problem here, right? And for this one, right, you can it's usually either time saved or cost saved or makes them money made. That's how you spell made, right? Can't remember. Right? So there's the first one is, customers love it. The second one is you can make money, which is time saved, either time saved, cost saved, or money made for your customers. Or problem solution fit, which is kind of similar to the other ones, but it's very important, right? This is a big problem, and they're looking for actual solutions for it, right? Now, within those, right, again, these can be a lot of different things, right? There's no one right answer to this, right? So, it's things such as, you've talked to your potential customers, you understand their pain points, you understand exactly what they're looking for, right? You've really honed into, this is my ICP, this is the way they feel, all of those kind of things. Maybe you've got, early feedback indicating that your solution can solve a real problem, right? Maybe it's you've actually outlined a clear value proposition, right? And, based on the market needs. Maybe it's, you've actually done something one-to-one, right? So you've built it out and you've actually understood this is exactly how it works. And now what we're trying to do is we're trying to build the technology underneath it to scale this as much as possible. But we've worked with all of these people on a consulting basis or a one-to-one basis, right? You need to be focusing on the problem you're solving and the early signs of market interest, right? Because what they're really looking for, investors, is they're looking for your vision of what you're trying to do, of what you're trying to solve, but then also your market understanding, right? How well you know your customers, how well you can make them money, how well that problem solution fits, right? Now, look, a great example is a company I helped raise 500K for, right? They're in the kind of friend betting market, right? They raised that 500K on pretty much an idea, but it was the idea validation that really made investors excited, right? Apart from them being amazing founders, that was the first hook into it. And on this side, right, they had, so an example, right? They had, I believe it was 5,000 people on a wait list, right? And it wasn't just a wait list of like, a wait list of just like, there's random people, right? From this, right, they had a survey from exactly the same people. And they understood exactly what everyone was doing. This is the way they feel about this. This is how they interact with this. This is what they're looking for, etc., etc. Right? And that's what was able to allow them to raise 500K from it, was because it wasn't just an idea, right? They validated the idea and that it was going to work and that it was going to be successful and people actually wanted it. Okay? So let's say you get through that, right? You've done that. You've raised your pre-seed. Now you're looking at a seed round, right? What does that look like? Right? Now look, as you can imagine, just every stage just goes further and further, right? For this one, right, you need to be thinking about customer validation. Okay? So this means you're moving beyond the idea stage. This is like, before you're like, I think this kind of works, I think we're kind of working into, and you're really starting to see some customer interests and potentially initial sales, right? You're no longer asking, where the market cares. What you're doing is you're proving people want it. Right? So, this is something like, if you're B2B, for example, you have some early pilots, or you have 1,000 people in the wait list, or 10,000 people in the wait list, or not even the wait list, sorry, but like a free trial, right? Or you have early paying customers, right? Your business model is showing early signs of generating revenue, and that you have data or feedback that proves customers find a solution, right? So proving people want this, early signs. Oh God, I can't type again. One day I'll be able to type, not today. Signs of rev, right? And you're starting to get some data on the solution. And it's so important, right? Investors are looking that you understand your customer, right? And this side as well is like, you need to know your ICP. Which is, ICP is like initial customer profile. Is it initial? Anyway, I forgot what the word is there. Which is basically just, who your customer is. What you're trying to show investors is that you validated all of this stuff, right? That the customers actually love you. That you've learned from your first customers. You've iterated. You know exactly what people are looking for and how you're building your product. And now it's about testing how you do this in the right way, right? So one of my clients, for example, Nelson Jordan, didn't really understand what like moved the needle for investors during during his first fundraise, and he had done multiple fundraise before. And once we focused on really determining like customer validation, right, showing strong demand from healthcare providers, he was able to secure what he needed to do because he had that customer validation, right? And it's so important to get that right. And this is the core part of what investors are looking for from a validation point of view from a seed round. Okay. So now we move into Series A. Like, what does a Series A look like? And for this one, it's really about, can you grow exponentially, right? This is, if you want to think about it in any way, right? This is historically VC. And what I mean by that, of course, VC does this, and VC even goes to pre-seed, right? They kind of go to everything. But historically VC, and I'll go through this a little bit in a second, but this is, every dollar, $1 equals $3. Okay? Every $1 equals $3. Every $1 equals $3. Now, again, you don't really have that in seed round, and this is where VC kind of started. But from the seed round, then it kind of went to customer validation because they were trying to go earlier, and then pre-seed, that's where VCs do it, right? But what they're really trying to understand is, for every dollar that I put into that company, can I get $3 out, right? And what this is, if from doing this in the right way, what this basically is meant to be is scaling validation. Okay, so now what you're doing is you're actually, and another word for this as well is, PMF, right? Product market fit. But what is that, right? Well, what you're really trying to understand, and it comes back to this, right? On the kind of $1 equals $3, but you've demonstrated that your business model can scale rapidly, but also it scales in the same way. Right, and that they're looking for evidence that you can take your company to the next level. You can, 8x revenue, 10x revenue. You can go from, $2 million in revenue to $16 million in revenue in the next 2 years, but all within the same way, right? So you're seeing, rapid customer acquisition. You have scalable systems in place, but the most important part is repeatability, right? So repeatability. We helped a company raise a $12 million round, but actually 6 months before they tried to raise before that, and they failed to raise that $12 million round because they didn't have the repeatability of their sales. They didn't actually understand the exact channels they were going down, why people went for certain things, how long it took go from, if you're doing B2B, for example, how long it took from going from that first meeting towards a signed contract. For B2C, it's more something like, the exact channel that you're going down, how long it takes, CAC, all of these kind of things. But what you're trying to understand is, again, coming back to this, right? If I put $12 million in, right, and we scale the team up, we do everything else, and everything is repeatable, right? I aim to get 36 million back in revenue, right? So every dollar that comes in, I can make $3, right? So what you're trying to do here is you're trying to, emphasize your revenue growth, of course, but you're trying to do repeatability, right? Another thing on that side is, scaling. And then also knowledge on channels. Or data is actually probably a better way of saying it, right? But you have the exact data and you know exactly how everything works. And if you can get all of these three and you can actually find product market fit, that's where investors are going to be really excited, right? Because they can see that your repeatability, they can see that, again, I put money in, we just need to hire this many people, do the exact same sales channels on the exact same way, and we're going to go from 1,000 users to 10,000 users instantly, right? From that, we can actually see how this scales and we can see how the revenue increases as we grow exponentially. And the last one, we actually have data to show this, right? It's not just some level of like, we kind of know our ICP, we kind of know that the customers are looking for, but we've just started, or we have this wait list in a survey, but actually this is exactly how it works. I'll use an example. For example, a company that I invested into, I led their $12 million Series A. They've gone on to raise $100 million plus. When they came to us at a Series A, when I led that round, they knew exactly everything that they needed to scale, and they've gone on to I don't know exactly how much revenue they make, but probably close to $100 million now. For them, the biggest thing was when they came at Series A, when they were making $1 million in revenue when I invested into them, they knew exactly how, what this, so this is a B2B example, right? So I'll use a B2B example. Give me a second. Right, so like this is B2B. Right, so they knew complete sales cycle. Right, so the exact time it took, right? And then from this, the steps and time. Right, they knew the sales cycle. They knew why they were beating competitors. And they knew exactly how to hire, right? So it was like done via employees, right? So for them, it was just about, okay, let's just get a head of sales in, someone who can actually build teams, right? Because they were obviously just founders. They didn't have that kind of level of scaling experience. Let's hire a head of sales. We're going to hire in 50, whatever, how many needed salespeople to come in. We're going to train them. We're going to do them exactly the same way as we've done, because we had repeatability. We knew how to scale. We knew exactly on the data of what works. We already validated the customer, and we knew exactly what was happening. For them, for example, they were able to, cure this thing within 70%, whereas the other competitors, I think it was like 14%. So it was very easy for them to go back. They also understood exactly the buying conditions of why these clients were buying from them, right? So that all of these things were from the data to the scaling and repeatability. And at that point, it was just about hiring as many people as possible. And once they had all of this, they were able to raise a 12 million Series A, and they've gone on to raise 100 million. But when they were raising their seed round, they needed all of this. When they had their pre-sale, they needed all of this, right, before they came to us. So when you're thinking about this as well, what I want you to realize is for each round, you've got to be thinking about how I can show investors that I'm at the next stage. And hopefully that makes sense to you, because look, what really investors are trying to understand is, do I think you can reach the next stage, right? So if you're raising a seed round, for example, if you're raising a seed or pre-seed, let's keep it as a seed, right? If you're raising a pre-seed, right, and your Series A is here, in fact, let me make it like this. Give me a second. Right, so if you're raising a seed round, right? What you're really trying to understand, and what you're trying to make investors believe from doing the customer validation, right? Literally from that, is you're trying to make them understand that this is possible. Right? So on that side is, obviously, like I said before, it's customer validation, of course. Right? But from that customer validation, what it allows you to do is it allows you to build out the data, right? The customer validation allows you to build out repeatability, right? Because you know exactly what they're looking for, right? As well as the scalability, as well as the data. But you have to show that customer validation first, and then from that show, okay, and we can actually reach a Series A. This is how easy it's going to be for us to reach a Series A, and we think we can get to product market fit at this point. And it's exactly the same for a pre-seed, right? Your pre-seed, when you're doing this, when you're doing this idea validation of showing that customers love it, that you can make them money, either it's time save, cost money, and that there's a problem solution fit. You're showing from this idea validation that in a year's time, in 2 years' time, you will be able to have customer validation, right? So from that customer validation, you'll then be able to have scaling validation. So when you think about it, right, you're just thinking about it from that end, right? So it goes from, so idea to customer to scale. And when you think in these 3 different sections, that's what's going to give you the highest chance of success. But you need to make sure that you understand this and then build your narrative around all of these things, and then make sure within your business you're building on these inflection points that get to all of these things and raising on these inflection points. So that's the first one, on track to meet the next stage. And the second one is you have a plan, right? This is something that I speak to founders every day, and even when I was an investor, even more so, because I was speaking to hundreds of founders a week. The biggest thing that they missed is they didn't really have a plan. You didn't have a plan on what you were trying to do. And look, this can be wrong, right? I'm not expecting you to always be right on how you're going to reach customer validation when you're raising a pre-seed, right? Or when you're raising a seed round. So when you're raising a seed round like here, how you can actually reach that Series A, right? You don't have to be correct in what you have to do, but you have to have a plan, right? So plan. There needs to be a plan of how you do it. There needs to be a plan of how you do it. And you need to be strong on this, right? You can be wrong. Investors can think you're being absolutely ridiculous in this. But you need to be really confident on, look, we've been able to, let's say that we're doing a pre-seed to a Series A, seed round, right? So I'm raising a pre-seed. I've been able to get a 5,000 wait list with a survey. I know exactly why customers are having a problem with it. I know exactly the way in which they're thinking because of this. I go to an investor and I say, look, I've done this thing. I was working on this consulting. I was helping founders on this thing, as a first step for free. They think it's software, but it's not. And what we're actually building it out, what we've shown is that actually this idea works. People really love it. That being said, what we're really trying to focus on is how we can keep deeply understanding customers in a much better way, right? And really proving out that people want this. And from these inflection points, we've already got to that pretty much there. Now it's just about doing these certain things in the next 6 months, right? Or the next 12 months. And once we do this, we're going to be able to prove that this is exactly how people do it, or this is the exact sales channel, or this is the exact sales cycle, or data on exactly what's working and what's not, and why we're beating out in competitors. That's the kind of thing you need to be thinking about when you're thinking about each stage as you go forward on all of this. If you can do that and you can really focus on that, so this is inflection, inflection. And this goes exactly the same for Series B, right? So I didn't really say that here either, right? But for this, right, so once you've scaled that, then it's just growth, right? Because again, I actually forgot to say it, sorry. For Series A, right, when you're doing this, it's like, wow, we've got repeatability, we're scaling. But if they really believe this, right, if they believe that you can do this, what's going to happen is then that will allow growth. Right? That will allow you to raise that massive round. But the only way in which you can show them is that you've done this, right? And that's why you need to be raising a Series A. Hope that's helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions on this, and happy to answer them. Oh my God, I didn't record, did I? My God, I didn't record. Oh, I didn't record, did I? Oh my God, I didn't record. What's happening?